I love how the first question that you gave me before I hit live was, is there anything I need to know or will we just go? And I'm like, we're gonna rip it. We're gonna rip it. And right, like it's just like get on that motorcycle and ride.
All right,
What
I'm ready.
what kind of happen when you do that, right? Like, well, just watch one of those reels with a little child on a bike with the parents screaming behind, like, break, break. Lots of fun. Lots of
Yeah.
fun, you know. I think that's what has brought us together as friends and kept us together as friends, even though it's been a minute.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. Is the writer's journey. You're a writer and an editor and a facilitator
Yeah.
and a story sanctuary keeper. That's so beautiful. Oh,
Hmm.
I love that. I love that because the story that we tell from our heart is something that needs to be guarded.
Yeah, it's sacred.
It really, really is. And as soon as it gets out into the world to be judged, gloves are off.
Right. Well, and with the creative process, it there has to be time and space to treat what initially comes out of you like a baby plant, like it's a tender sprout. And so when you first write something, it's not this like full bodied, 200-year-old tree. It's just like this little sprout that if, you put too much shit on it or, overwater it or maybe accidentally step on it, it can be, really hard on that. So it's my commitment when I work with people, because when I'm facilitating retreats and workshops, it's not like people bring their full story that's already done. They're writing new things. And so new things need to be held, cradled, you know, cared for with some tenderness.
Well, and sometimes it is within that newness that it may be a new style of writing as well. One of the
Absolutely.
things that I love is investigating style. Um, I've we were talking earlier about quotation marks, right? Like dialogue is something for me that is great when someone else writes it. And then for me, it's just like, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I want to. Like it's not a little want. That's a big one. So I remember when I was reading You're Beautiful, putting makeup on dead people, the the dialogue, I love the dialogue. I love, love, love the dialogue. And that
Me
is
too.
something that I want to do. The memoir that I'm doing is it's a survivor's guide for hope. It's
Mm.
different. It's very, very different. And yet, when I began my adventure in reading, oh my goodness, Spirit's showing me the books and flowers in the attic. Thank you. First of all, they showed me flowers and then a weird sexual thing and then an addict. I'm like, yeah, flowers in the attic. That's the one.
You're a
I
good
didn't,
translator.
I didn't know it was a weird sexual thing when I was reading it as a teenager. But I loved that dialogue. It's why I fell in love with the vampire. Um, oh, it's my wedding song, Twilight. It so many of those stories, it was how it was carried through dialogue.
Yeah.
And there is a beauty in the spoken word. Huge beauty in the spoken word, and retreats are just, oh, they're so yummy. Do you
Mhm.
do them in Portland, where you're from, or other places?
Well, the last couple of years with um, the world shutting down a little bit, a lot more went online for me. So I've
Okay.
been doing a lot of Zoom teaching. And so the main thing that I'm facilitating right now are elemental writing classes and adventures and retreats. So doing it via Zoom. And I certainly love and want to get back into doing stuff in person, but there is just such magic, like how we're communicating right now. We're not in the same place, but this is beautiful and magical that we get to have a conversation. And so it's fun to be
Yeah.
able to gather with people from all over the world,
It
for
really is. I remember when I had that mini retreat with you at Brenda Hammond's home
Mhm.
when we were going through the Sacred Hearts Rising ritual of writing, and that was nice, but it was too short.
Yeah.
Um, it was just too short. So many opportunities out there, and as the world is expanding and the windows are opening, um, there's so much opportunity out there. I know I've got to fix my Google flight tracker because I get way too many emails because I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, ding,
There,
ding, 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 ding. I'm like,
there,
whoa,
there,
whoa,
there.
whoa, 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 right? Like I'm like, I'm planning for next year. Why are you sending me this stuff now? It's like, oh, because you hit the button. Oh, oh, you mean, oh, it was me, right? Self responsibility and accountability. Oh yeah, I take that one on.
Yeah.
Wow, virtual workshops. That's beautiful. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
it
that.
really has been. And I like what you said too about like, oh, it's too short because I just had the experience. I mean, actually, tomorrow night is our final retreat, and I've been facilitating a 6-month course.
Ooh.
And this is our last retreat. And it has been so lovely to sink into these themes, with people over the course of 6 months. And you'll dig this. The title of it was Is Elemental Writing Decompose? So it's
Mm.
not necessarily about what we're making, but about what we're unmaking and how we connect with decomposition in the natural world and what wisdom is there for us, and how in falling apart sometimes things can come together, and just the natural cycle of things. It's been gorgeous and really fun to be able to like get to know people over the course of a stretch of time like that rather than just, 2 hours one day.
Oh, well, and everything does come together, even if it is like that, imagery for me, spirit always speaks through imagery. It is that, there was a movie and it was that green stuff, um, it starts with an F, I think, like where it's just that, you can't even hold on to it. It's like jello that hasn't set, and even that is coming together, that metamorphosis, that
Hmm.
that this isn't working as it's running through your fingers, right? I'm like, well, no, it is because you're holding your hands up, honey, right?
Yeah.
And that's when people throw things at me. Um, it's a challenge when you're going through that really itchy spot. It's like that mosquito bite when someone's stupid enough to say, "Well, don't scratch." You know,
Yeah.
that's where the juice is in the healing. When you make that dedication, when you maneuver your resources, whether that's financial or time, and you say, you know what? I'm leaving this life and I'm going somewhere else. Will you be my guide? Because you got to have a guide, or else you go back to the same place. It's like that. Who is that fish that only had one wing?
Nemo.
Nemo, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Tom. Hi, my name is Tom. Right? 10-second Tom. Oh, wrong movie.
Maybe you're blending movies because Nemo does forget for sure,
He does
but there's also
forget. Oh,
Groundhog Day.
Oh, 10-second Tom is the Drew Barrymore one where she forgets all the time.
God, I don't think I know that one.
Yeah, I'd see. I watched a lot of movies. Being an only child, I read a lot of books. Being in a lonely marriage, I watched a lot of television.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you, Spirit, for setting me up for success. And then Spirit began speaking to me after M passed. So now that I look back on my life, it makes more sense. But I spend more time looking forward, much more time looking forward. It's a better
Yeah.
feeling place when you are working for goals that are worth playing because it's play. If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong. And that's got a big, like, yeah, big one. My daughter's just being such a brat up in, yeah. She used to, Emily used to take notes and slip them under the door when I was in an intimate place. Hubba hubba. She was just really, really fun. We had a lot of fun together. So, in creating a life of joy, it was about learning how to find my joy after losing Emily Joy, and coming to an understanding that living vicariously through a child isn't my happy. And then going, I haven't been happy for a long time, and that inner child and all those beautiful emotions till I could get to a point of passion and purpose. You went through a lot in this last, gosh, how far back? You've gone through a lot of grief.
Yeah. Yeah, probably for the last 5 years or so. Certainly losing my mom.
Mm.
And right after I lost my mom, that was towards the end of 2019 in October. And then I came back to Portland, and within a month, I got very, very sick. And I spent the better part of the next year at a million doctor's appointments, a million different healers, trying to figure out what is going on until finally, like the very last of these like investigative appointments that didn't seem like it was connected at all. In fact, one doctor had said, "Oh, you can put off that appointment, with the dermatologist because that's like the least of your concerns." But that's actually the one that led to realizing the autoimmune disease that I have and that, I've been playing with, living with for the last chunk of years. But it was really a dark, dark underground, you know, journey of really surrendering everything that I had known. Like that coupled with the grief of losing my mom was just a lot.
Yeah. We were speaking last night in my astrology group about um, Bugs Bunny when he jumps into the hole that we assume he's jumping into a rabbit hole, where he's actually jumping into a warren. And a warren is the underground catacomb system where the rabbit families live.
Ah,
Oh my God. And I'm like, write that down. And she's like, I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm like, because I've been struggling with the word rabbit hole in my memoir. And she's like, overusage of words. I'm like, okay, warren, labyrinth, maze. I got this. But it's where memories go.
yeah.
Our memories go into a warren, into a system. That's that iceberg picture. Like this is my problem. I
Yep.
have ADD, ADHD, OCD, whatever the D is that's in your diagnosis, where underneath is a lifetime of experiences and
Hmm.
patterns and
Yeah.
agreements. The agreements are what I've been digging into in my life. Um, I was reunited with the Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, and then the
Hmm.
fifth agreement. I'm like, I read that book. I don't remember him. Oh my God, what do you mean you don't remember the agreements, right? And then it was like, okay, oh yeah, be impeccable with your word. Oh, and then I'm like, I'm looking at the empty bowl of snacks that I demolished after telling myself I wouldn't do it again, right? And I'm like, oh, what was it though? Overindulgence? No. What was it? Why did I say that? Why did I say that I wouldn't eat after 6 o'clock. I'm not a gremlin. Nothing bad is going to happen. Why did I make that agreement?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Because we've got these beliefs
Yeah.
that are and they're like syphilis. We don't know which sexual partner we got it from. We don't know who told us not to eat after a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
amount of time. So, oh,
Which requires digging in the underground a little bit. And I
mhm.
love so much. I don't know if you know David Abrams' book, Spell of the Sensuous. It
No,
is gorgeous. It's really dense. Takes a bit to get through, but it's the root of the whole like elemental writing thing that I've been doing the last couple of years. But what he talks about is how time is actually uh, in the animate landscape, like time and space, like they're connected. So what he describes is the underground is the past, the
mhm.
horizon is the future, and the present is the air that we breathe, like being in the present. So it's all of that notion of time rooted in what's around us. And sometimes, you got to go underground, and underground is the past, and you got to dig around in there with your present body breathing, and maybe with
Mhm.
half an eye on the horizon too. But anyway, I just like it's so powerful for me to
Love
think about
that.
that connection with the underground and all you're talking about with the Warren and
Yes,
where our memories and contracts live.
it's that waffle. It's that waffle, right? Because we've got that batter that we pour into the pan and the crunchy bottom and the crunchy top in that middle. And they all are important. They're very, very important. And once we get passionate about our purpose and the goal worth playing for, I was in Mexico for a month. Oh,
I saw some
it
of
was
your
such a blessing.
pictures.
Oh my God, it was such a blessing. And I have a carry along that I bring with me on my vacations, which is right below or above. It's around my belt area, and it overlaps in certain spots. I don't want it to anymore, right? I want to wear a bikini, not one of those things that I have been wearing. And it's not because of any vanity. It's simply because there are outfits that I have not been allowing myself to wear. So in having fun getting from here to there, I'm uprooting a lot and going through some physical limitations. I've got some lower back thing that's shooting pain down to the my feet and the tips of my fingers. So one doctor led to another, to a chiropractor, craniosacral, to a homeopath, found her in Mexico, and now an osteopath. But I
Hmm.
know that there are deep rooted experiences that are like fingers on the roots of a carrot. Cool. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. And I've got a goal worth playing for, wearing that itty bitty teeny weeny polka dot bikini in Mexico next year, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, the no matter what is big. Like I remember the first time I went to Sicily, which was in 2019. Well, the only time I went to Sicily, I've been to other parts of Italy, but getting a bikini for the first time in my life and realizing I don't fucking care. Like there is not a particular bikini body. You're a human with a body. That's a bikini body. And all
Yes.
of these people are all over the beach in Sicily, in southern Italy, and they're all wearing bikinis. And it doesn't matter what their bodies look like. And that's kind of, you know, where I feel with that. Like I
Yeah, it's
have a
that eat,
body.
eat, love, pray, eat, love, pray, eat, love, pray, right? Like I'm just like, I mean, and there are certain foods that I really like. I don't like sardines. I don't like tripe. I don't like chicken feet. or knuckles. I like everything else. So finding my somatic eating, I think will be fun. I think it is somatic somehow.
Tell me what that means. I'm not sure what you mean.
So somatic is there's a lovely lady that I had another
I mean, I know that word, but I'm just not sure how you're
well, the way that she explained it to me was when someone leans in, how does that make you feel? When someone leans back, how does that make you feel? What is your body's response? So, playing with my relationship with food, how do
mm,
I feel after I've eaten a beautiful, succulent bowl of pineapple? How do I feel after I've eaten a crunchy, munchy bowl of potato chips? How do I feel physically?
yeah,
And what's that inner dialogue? So, understanding my relationship with food and exercise, because I do enjoy yoga. I'm struggling in the poses because of the pain in my body.
yeah.
So, reestablishing what does yoga mean to me now? I'm a certified yoga teacher who can't do many poses. I mean, that's a good one, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's a powerful something to work through, be with, you know? Well, like,
Yeah,
when I
and
was sick,
mhm,
that first year, my hands were dramatically affected. That's where the disease showed up first, and I couldn't zip, I couldn't cut food, I couldn't snap, I couldn't pinch, I couldn't so my partner was doing all of these things for me. I could not handwrite. And you know how much, like, I mean, even from just having a writing retreat with me for a day, you know how much that was part of my life, handwriting things.
yes,
And to be in that relationship with my body where I'm like, okay, this thing that felt like it defined who I was, who I am, writer, what does it mean to be a writer who can't pick up a pen? And that was really something to be with. So what does it mean to be a yoga teacher who can't do yoga poses, right? I mean, it's quite a
well,
thing.
and I understand the arm because in July, I started having some real bad pains in my hand and it was actually my elbow where it first showed up. Ralph was driving, merging from one lane to another, and my elbow just tapped the driver's seat. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, can't you learn how to drive? Right. And I'm like, it starts here, it hurts here, it goes up into here. And he's like, well, you better get that checked out. And I'm like, yeah, well, you better learn how to drive. Right. Like, and there's like, there was that silence. And then I phoned a friend. I'm like, "Hey, Sally." And she's like, "You need to go to the doctor. Like, go Monday." And I
Yeah.
did. And then I realized that it was tendonitis. Um, and we're still working on insertion point. Where does it begin? And then because I didn't have an incident at work, oh, it's not an easy workers' compensation situation. So layers and layers and levels of what do you mean? I worked in 35 years of corporate administration. I couldn't type. So I learned to write with my left hand with a pen. And
Mm,
then the creativity changed.
yeah.
And then I started using dictation, which is really annoying on the computer. I'm like,
Yes.
what I said was, and watching those words show up on my phone, I'm like, oh, this is going to take a million years to edit. And then going
Right.
through that, right? Like but still doing it. You gotta rip it. You gotta rip off that Band-Aid, expose the skin, allow the healing to happen. I mean, you can pour Mercurochrome on it. Do you remember Mercurochrome?
God, I remember that word, but I don't remember exactly what it was or is.
It was a nasty, red solution that was poured on wounds. It was a
Uh,
pinky red, and it had mercury in it, hence the
huh.
Mercurochrome. So all of the parents who did that didn't know. So then
Wow.
that came off the market and iodine was used. But it
Uh-huh.
really it stung and, like, your parent would pour it on and then go until the burning stopped.
Huh.
And we can pour things on our own wounds.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Self-sabotage. Yeah.
Which part is self-sabotage? Tell me more.
Oh gosh. We'll delay projects,
Yeah.
because we don't have I mean, we've got a list of reasons why we can't sell the house and move to Mexico, and those list of reasons are justifiable. My mother is in care, she needs me here in Canada. The housing market isn't what it used to be, so I'm not gonna make as much money. Nevertheless, there's the change. I can get rid of things that no longer serve me, like the clothes, and begin to make changes that allow for the universe to be like, housing market in Edmonton, Alberta, gone through the roof. Booyah. I'm out. So we have to make choices or we become a chump and we just end up being fed to the sharks by ourselves.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot, right? So be impeccable with your word is the first agreement. Second agreement is don't take anything personally. That's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big challenge.
It's been a while since I read that book years and years ago, and I feel like it's somewhere on a shelf not too far from me now. Curious to revisit that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because imagine how many times in a day do you take something personally? Like Ralph will say something to me in the kindest way. He like flat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round. He doesn't sing fat, he sings flat because my butt is flat. And I giggle, and then I'm like, I wonder how many squats I would need to do to get that butt. Well, that's not the butt, right? That embrace mine, love
Embrace
mine.
your own ass is
Right,
really the bottom line. That's the message that we have here today. Reach back without pulling a muscle and embrace your own ass.
right? And you know, and when I teach yoga, I'm like, okay, so we're gonna pull the juicy bits from the right side and the left side so that you can feel your sits bones. The juicy bits.
Oh, I'm going to do that right now.
Right? The juicy bits. Actually, it feels really good when your lower back is sore. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we not taking things personally can be a challenge, and we can ask a lot of questions. I've got a beautiful dress for my bonus son's wedding in July, and I was telling my other son about it, and he's like, "You can't wear white to a wedding." I'm like, "Well, it's white with lots of big red bold flowers." Like, lots. She's like, "There's white on it, mom. You can't wear white to a wedding."
Huh.
And I'm like, "Okay." So I sat with it, again, a belief, then an agreement. And then I spoke to the bride, and she's like, "Oh my God, Jerry." She calls him Jerry. You can wear, if you want to wear a white dress, you can wear a white dress. And I'm like, okay. So I've got 3 dresses that I'm going to bring because if I wear white, there's the option to spill coffee if I have the gold. So if you can live in a life that others look at and go, wow, I want a little taste of that, then I think you're doing something right.
Hmm.
I want a little taste of that. There's something about that life that I resonate with.
Well, and the thing is that it doesn't even have to be like exactly that thing. I think what it is just vitality is contagious. That when
Mm,
somebody, is living their life, my life in a full way that's full for me, that doesn't mean that somebody needs to live their life exactly like I'm doing it, but that it wakes something up in them that is their own fullness, their own unique expression of vitality, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, vitality is it, and that's a big one too, because if we try to live too much like someone else, then we may end up on a version of Botched.
I don't know what that is.
Oh gosh, Botched is a TV series that shows when plastic surgery has gone wrong.
Mm,
And not that there's anything wrong with plastic surgery, but when we become an extremist at anything, that's when life can become out of balance. And and I think that's where a lot of the life now is as we're moving into this age of Aquarius, the feminine is crying to be heard. That's the
mhm.
feminine in everyone, including my sons,
Yep.
my guy that's out there listening to television. It's that nature and nurture that wants to be heard that's in all of us. But if we argue about Pittsburgh Steelers or any other team, then we get into a problem, right? Because it's Steeler Nation. Just saying.
I have no attachment to football.
Oh,
No attachment to sports of any
there's
kind.
no
I
one
mean,
in your family that you argue with about sports, like how the Green Bay Packers are cheeseheads?
I do not.
I do.
I have plenty of other things that I argue about, but not about sports.
Oh my gosh, I've got a video with my son's mother-in-law's boyfriend, Randy. I love Randy, and he's a Green Bay Packer fan. I mean, his dog's name's Packer. He's got a
Ah,
Jenga set that's painted yellow and
green and
gold.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, green and gold. I mean, it's all about that. And I mean, I want to take his Jenga set and just color all the green ones black. So it's black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, right? Like, and we just have so much fun. And there was a day when we were sitting by his pool with little tiny red cups and shots, right? So I put Steelers and Packers and Steelers and Packers, and I put Steelers and Packers on both sides. And then if we landed on the opposing team's cup, we were to drink. Well, we were just drinking like a lot, and it was so much fun. And I think that's where that fun can happen in life. But if we get too attached, that's when the sideline game can become
Mhm.
a violent undertaking. I mean, you see it in sports or politics,
Yes.
religion,
So much
spirituality.
submissiveness. Yeah, like we forget how to be curious. I mean,
Mhm.
what I think, like I'm really still sitting with that, don't take anything personally, because for me I think it's a combo. Like, yes, don't take things personally in the sense that you can't just be curious and listen to where someone's coming from
Yeah.
and, learn something new. And also I think we have a huge issue of people not taking things personally enough, like not remembering that they're connected to
Mhm.
humanity, that the suffering that is happening over there. And, this could
Yes.
be about people suffering. This could be about the fact that there's like a giant plastic garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. If we don't take that personally and recognize that we are part of this natural world, that's a problem. So I think that's
Huge.
where I'm sitting with that it's like, yes, 100% don't take things personally so that you can't connect. But yes, take things personally so that you remember you're already connected, you know?
Responsibility. If you're concerned that like you had mentioned the plastic, and you make a change to carry a canvas bag, and you choose to use glass cookware, and you choose to gift glass cookware, Those are all beautiful, positive expressions of giving, which is a beautiful love language. If you're going through your friends' cupboards and taking away their Tupperware, you may have crossed a line.
Yeah.
So, Bloods and Crips isn't necessary. We can find a way in between. And the next agreement, which is really cool, is don't make assumptions. Because just because you're a cheesehead doesn't mean you like cheese. There's a lot of Green Bay Packers out there that are lactose intolerant. So we don't know. I've got a friend of mine who's a vegetarian, and I asked her that one day. I was sitting in her office. I'm like, why don't you eat meat? And she told me her story, and I'm like, wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always wondered why, as a vegetarian, she was still eating chicken nuggets, but veggie nuggets. Like, it still looks like a chicken, tastes like a chicken, so why don't you just eat the chicken? When we had the conversation, I was able to be like, wow, I now know so much more about you. It was that
Mm-hmm.
heartfelt connection that was just divine.
Well, yeah, and it's so important to be able to ask that question and also to ask it in a way like you did, with a tone that doesn't put somebody on the defensive. That's like, I'm really curious. Like, why don't you do this? Or like, what's that about? And be ready to listen and be ready to learn and be open to being changed, which is basically being fucking alive, you know?
Yes. Yes. Well, and one of the things that I found really interesting when Spirit reminded me of your book, because I said to you earlier before we started recording, was there something else about me that you don't know? I am a animal companion end of life doula.
Oh, how beautiful.
And finishing up my certification on end of life doula. So I've read books and books and books on doulification. I mean, I'm on the beach in Mexico and I'm reading books about dying, and I'm just enamored.
Yeah, that sounds
And
like
then,
me.
and then I'm like, oh my gosh, a natural discussion starter that will be an obvious choice for book clubs. Okay. And then a book that looks at death and reveals much about life. And I just got this like, oh my God, I get to share this with all my people in my course. Of course. Like, death is an experience that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
So is remorse, and so is resentment. To have those conversations and those dialogues, to be Nancy Nance, exponential joy, the death doula. Like, you can't say that. That doesn't work well together.
But it
You know,
does. It
but
works
it does.
perfectly because
It
it's
works.
that's the thing. They're intermingled.
They
Joy
are.
and grief. Yeah.
They are. They are so much so. And I remember having the conversation with my dear friend when she passed away, not this year, but last year in the early seasons, like in the beginning of the new year, which was the winter,
Yeah.
and saying to her, okay, sweetheart, so what's the next step? While she is in the hospital, um, not certain if she's going to leave, and having her say to me, I want to die. That's the next step. Figure out how we do this. And I'm like, I've never done that before. So I began investigating that, went back to have a conversation with her about that. And she said, you're meant to do this. And I'm like, what? She's like, duh, help people die. And I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. No, exponential joy, the life coach, the psychic medium, the energy worker. Like, I don't do death. And she's like, well, you're doing a pretty good job of it right now, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, bitch, you're so right.
Yeah.
That was my parting gift from her. So I'm so blessed. And I'm so blessed to have been touched by death so many times and yet be joyful often. I mean, not joyful all the time,
Sure.
You should see me right about 5 o'clock when I death dive into scarcity thought, right? And how am I going to pay for all these flights that I've got scheduled? Oh, then there's Tinkerbell going, "Don't worry, I'll help you."
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Give me a free ticket? And then there's darling Daphne,
Yeah,
who says, like,
Tinkerbell, that would be nice.
yeah, magical things will happen. And I'm like, oh, you're so right. Thank you.
I
And then I
totally
pour
wore a Daphne necklace today.
oh, me too. Me too. That's so cool. What's yours? Is that a tree of life?
It is a tree with a full moon behind the tree and an owl.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
it's really good.
powerful.
Yeah.
Mine is um uh, a ball of rhodonite, might be close on that, and a dragon holding it. So I call it my Khaleesi because the
Oh,
ball spins. So it's a spinner in case I'm contemplating and then reminding that I am a dragon slayer who is a peaceful, humble, listen, sweetie, you don't want me to unleash. Like we might want to have a conversation about this before you slash my car.
before you breathe fire.
Like you slash my car and everything's done. I'm going to sparkle your home. Because I can paint my car, but you can't get rid of those sparkles. And it's about being honest with supportive people. Yeah. Supportive is important. And the next one, always do your best. I like that one. That one's better for me. That one's better for me. I can hold that one. That one gives me some space and some ease
Yeah.
because I can speak to myself and say, "Sweetheart, do your best."
Yeah.
I like to put "sweetheart" before sentences.
It helps. Yeah.
It helps for me, not just the people that I coach. I coach people the same way that I live my life.
Yeah.
So, that one's in the Fifth Agreement, which is another book.
Mm.
I like that one
Yeah, I do a lot too.
because I'm very
Also, side note, circling back to the very beginning of our conversation, the learn to listen thing is crucial to good dialogue. Writing good dialogue, which you were talking about, I think is like, it's really about listening. It's about eavesdropping on people's conversations when you're out and about in the world. And it's just about writing down what you hear. It's tuning into that and listening to yourself as much, like listening to the natural way you talk and the natural way other people talk and translating that from your ear to the page. Like, I think that's so to link that back to writing for a minute. Yeah.
wow. I love that because when I was traveling, I had different dialects. I had a conversation with a beautiful lady who was selling juice, and I wanted hibiscus.
I love hibiscus.
I love hibiscus. And she's looking at me, and I'm like, Roja, rouge, red, that one. And she's like, Flora,
Flower.
right? And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then she's Azucar, and I'm like, blue? She's like, no, sugar.
Sugar.
Yes, yes, sugar, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, all like right. And it's so beautiful listening to that dialogue. Yeah.
Mhm.
Listening is powerful and understanding
Mhm.
why am I talking? Wait, why am I talking?
Yeah.
That gap. Boy, we like to fill that gap.
Mm. And I love the gap. I think I like the Gap a lot more than a lot of people like the Gap. Um, because I kind of wish like sometimes that everyone would just get quiet. Just be quiet. We don't have to fill the space because sometimes you need the quiet to think, or I need the quiet to think, to process, and maybe the quiet is saying something too. What we think is
Yes.
the quiet is
Yeah.
something to listen to.
Yes. I love sleeping with the sound of nothing but life, whether
Yeah.
that's a clock or a window tapping, whatever that is. You put on white noise, I call it Satan's soundbox.
Of course you
My
do.
my granddaughters sleep with the white noise, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Did you not watch Poltergeist?" I was like, "Did you not watch Poltergeist?" Like, "Don't go to light, children." Um, it is an adaptation. My daughter-in-law's mom, Dawn, she sleeps with white noise, and I experienced it on a girls' trip. It was my first girls' trip. It was my only girls' trip. And, she's like, "I sleep with a sound machine." "Okay, I can sleep through anything." Oh my god, day 3, I hadn't slept, and I was getting really cranky, and, someone said to me, "You look tired." I'm like, "I am tired," and it was just like, and I just didn't wanna hurt anybody's feelings, and I wanted to fit in, and I'm very kind, I'm very compassionate, but when I'm not being true to me,
Yeah.
I become resentful. And then I become remorseful because I call it Satan's soundbox, and I know that it brings you comfort. And how can we,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So the conversations are beautiful. They really are, and it gives us an opportunity to listen to another, and I think that is a big part of our purpose of being alive.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, all we've got is Wilson, the ball, and we're alone on an island waiting for FedEx.
Mhm.
Good movie, boring dialogue.
Yeah, or really interesting, the dialogue that that character had the opportunity to have. Yes, like, I mean, I totally get what you're saying too, and I'm thinking about it in terms of when all the people stop talking, we recognize how many other animate voices there are in the landscape, that the water's talking, that the palm trees are talking, that the sand is talking, you know what I mean? That
Yes.
there are other languages being spoken by other beings than human beings all the time.
Well, that's where the whisper of divinity is so beautiful because you have that moment when you're like I'd said to you this morning earlier, I was putting my lipstick on and I got this putting makeup on dead people. And I'm like, oh my God, spirit, pay attention. I'm alive.
Not dead yet.
And I'm not dead yet. And then it's like on dead people. Oh my God, that's Jen's book. Thank you. Because it's not always about you. It is about that message that may be for someone else, or, "Oh, I haven't spoken to her for such a long time. Yeah, I will call." So that it's
Yeah,
not another funeral that we go to where we say, "Oh, we gotta get together again."
right.
Same number, just Google me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So to make that conscious effort is beautiful.
And I feel like at this point in my life, connection is enough of a purpose for me.
Mhm.
Like I think I used to be more in the world of, especially when I, what, like 14, 15 years ago, starting my own business and being in that world of like entrepreneur hoopla, where it's like you're supposed to make 7 figures and you're supposed to, like be always be marketing and, this is how you trick people and manipulate people into whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like I am not interested. Like, I'm not interested in so much of that world that I was in for a while when I thought that's what I needed to learn. And it never felt right. And now to be like, it's great to accomplish things. It doesn't mean I still don't want to accomplish things, that I'm still not working on a memoir that I'll finish, that I'm still not like putting together a class that's starting in, a month that I'm going to teach. But who cares?
Mhm.
I think we're fed that idea through capitalism and all kinds of other problematic systems, that we have to be productive to matter, that we have to, do, and we forget to be. And for me, it's enough of a purpose to be, to just
Yes.
be fully, vitally myself.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And to follow whatever the whisper, the path, the like, oh my God, I'm making meatballs. I'm making magical meatballs because they have ground deer and pork
Mm.
and panko and hot garlic sauce with
Okay, I want
Montreal
these
steak
meatballs.
slice. I mean, right? Like, oh my gosh. And the meat was gifted to me by a dear friend. And I'm like, oh, I wish I had something that was, because wild meat is quite lean. And I'm like, oh, if only I had some pork. So I looked and looked and looked and didn't find it. And then I was looking for something else. I'm like, oh my God, I had ground pork in the other freezer. Found it. So to know that everything that we have is within our reach when we dig a little bit and just be. I give you permission to be. And you can be skeptical. Oh my God, she
Mhm.
can't be that joyful. No, I'm not. Should have met me back when my kids called me Helga. And I can still be really, really challenging in my own head as I'm dodging energy vampires and I'm learning to understand what it means to be hormonal in menopause.
Mhm.
As I'm saging, I had written in my memoir that I was a crone. And then she's like, here's the Webster's Dictionary of crone. Is that what you mean? I'm like, no. And then all of a sudden
But
I got a
also,
picture.
fuck what Webster's dictionary says about crone. We are
Well,
crones. It's beautiful.
true, true, but it didn't fit into the word.
Uh,
And I'm like, oh, I meant sage. Okay. Even though there is a part of me that is very witchy and wise. So I'm
mhm.
like, okay, how can I expand on this? Because as soon as I stop saying witchy and wise, I'm not serving true to the fact that I do mix herbs. I do help people understand that their words can cast spells, that their words can be a curse. I do read tarot cards. I do all of those things. And their actions that I take in the character of being, yeah, I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty joyful. I'm all those things that I have been all of my life. And liking me a lot more. Yeah, a lot more. Softening and getting stronger so that the softness is in different parts of my body, deeper.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, strengthening my body is more about the ability to be able to take that walk that I want to take.
Yes. Yeah,
There's a big walk in Europe,
the Camino.
the Camino. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
I
want
did
to do.
that years ago.
Did you?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I
really,
want to do the Camino.
yeah.
Yeah, I want to do the Camino. Maybe get El Camino the car and do the Camino.
Not connected, but very similar.
I could drive the El Camino to get to the airport, right? Like it's so. Gosh, I was watching a spin-off of Breaking Bad, and I'm like, oh, I love that car. I do love hot rods, and I had a hot rod for a while and then made a choice to reinvest that money in things that mattered more. Right. And I think that's what we're constantly doing is reinvesting, reinventing, reevaluating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And doing
always, and especially
oh,
right now.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so much because we don't know. Um, we've never been in this powerful place in life. I mean, gosh darn, in the 80s, the only way I could talk to you would be on a phone connected to a very long cord,
With a twisty, twisty cord.
unless
I
my mom
miss those
plugged it
phones.
from the wall. Oh my gosh. Like, you know what? That's the thing. Like kids nowadays, when they get grounded, I'm like, that's not being grounded. And I sound like my parents when I was your age and I walked down the hill with one boot. Oh my gosh. I'm that grandma. I'm that grandma. I remember when I was babysitting my granddaughter, and she wanted to go see Gran, who is Jesse's mom, Dawn, and she was struggling with her health, so that wasn't an option. And besides the fact, you're here with me, so I'm like, you can't go to Gran's house. You're gonna stay here with me, and you're gonna heal under the light. So I'd given her the probe for the scalar wave. I'm like, just hold this. And then when my son got home, he said, "How was your day with Nona Sparkles?" I said, she made me hold the light, and my son was like, "Oh,
I love Nona Sparkles. How
Nona
beautiful is that?
Sparkles." Yeah, and I've got a shirt. When we can find our own superhero and be that superhero, then we're a superhero for somebody else. The hero's journey. There's a whole nother podcast, right?
Oh, and I will tell you what, I don't have it with me, but I am actually reading The Heroine's Journey right now, which is
Ooh,
a whole different thing. You would probably love it. It just feels perfect for this
yeah.
time in my life as a woman. And the author is Maureen Murdoch, and she was actually a student of Joseph Campbell and realized that women's journeys and often like the feminine journey that many men have as well, or people of that all the genders, right, that it doesn't fit into that hero's journey,
No.
that there's a lot of that that's connected to patriarchy, capitalism, all of those things where it's just like you go in and you slay the dragon and you come back victorious, but that's not always how it happens
Not
sometimes,
everyone wants
especially.
to hold the head.
Yeah, like sometimes you are staying in a really tough spot and you have to learn how to navigate it. And there isn't like a big dragon slaying or prize at the end. And
No.
it does require this descent underground, like the goddess going underground and,
Mhm.
reuniting all of those parts of self that got left behind. So anyway, it's really beautiful. Highly recommend. I'm
Oh,
enjoying it right now.
I love the recommendations of books.
Yeah.
I had a choice between downsizing my books and getting a Kindle, and because I do have some books that are on my iPad, and I bought a trailer so I can put some books in
A book trailer.
a book trailer. I'm like, that's where I'm going to go to retreat from the world.
That sounds dreamy, just like you and your books on the road, away from everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So finding ways to do all those things that someone told me that wasn't possible. Everything is possible. When you insert the apostrophe in impossible, you receive I'm possible. Beautiful. Dream the big dream, right? Dream the big dream. So much more fun. Because if you don't wake up tomorrow, at least you left a legacy. Yeah. And you'll leave a legacy no matter what. So choose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the gap here, as we were talking earlier about the quiet gaps, like in the gap, I also think, yes, anything is possible. And there are very real systems and struggles that people live with that, you know, are that we can't ignore. And I think that's part of what I wanted to get away from when I was talking about like earlier, like starting my own business and this idea like you can do whatever you want. Well, it's very different for somebody with a trust fund to do whatever they want than somebody who, is just going paycheck to paycheck doing whatever they want, you know?
Ichiban.
And it's not that
Ichiban.
within any of those you can't find joy, you can't, savor life, but to shame people sometimes and be like, "Oh, well, just pick yourself up by the bootstraps or just manifest whatever you want." Like there's some real bullshit in there that needs to be called out too that
I
yeah,
agree.
you know?
I agree wholeheartedly. And that's one thing that once you manage your understanding of how the AI works, you can start Xing and unsubscribing to that fluffy, um, cotton candy spirituality that can make you gag. And if you eat a lot of cotton candy,
You'll gag.
you understand this, right? Like there's that whole conversation about if you smoke a lot of marijuana and eat a lot of cotton candy, you will green out or throw up. Maybe you'll green out and throw up, right? Like be careful what you're digesting in life.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The quality of the nourishment is real.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Compassion. Let compassion be your passion. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And read Jen's book. And when I come to Portland, Oregon, I'm going to have a book tour and I'm going to have like, there's going to be like a dual, like there won't be any competition. It's not like a black and yellow, black and yellow. It's like exponential joy, or putting makeup on dead people. I mean, how much more fun is that? We could do it like at a Rocky Horror Picture
Oh.
Show thing,
Absolutely.
right? So much fun. So much
Yeah.
fun. So thank you, my dear friend.
Thank
Um,
you.
this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad that Recover Your Joy brought us back together again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a gift to just like, surrender to the flow and see what emerges when you're just with somebody.
Hmm. It's been beautiful. So until next time,
Yes.
peace out. Love you to the moon and back.
Much love. Thank you so much.
Bye. You're
Bye.
welcome.